Hey everybody, welcome back to Stamping School. This is something that's coming out May 6th. It's just a few days away, really, for the new catalog. The new annual catalog's coming out, and then they're dropping a lot of online exclusives. Again, trying to get us to look online so that they can put lots of things there that they don't have to carry for a full year. I understand the logic of it. I still like my paper catalog, but I do appreciate all these great things coming online because, we might not have gotten them otherwise. So this is one that I thought was pretty cool. And this is one rare occasion that I think you can buy just the stamp set if you want. And you don't need the whole bundle, but I'm going to show you the whole bundle and show you what I did with it. So there's stamps, dies, and then there's also the hybrid embossing folder, which is the hybrid means it's thick and you put the die inside and it cuts and scores, embosses it at the same time. I'll show you how to do that. So start with the stamp set, Sunrise Sailing. Congratulations, you deserve the best. Happy retirement, best wishes. You're destined for great things. Ahoy! Which always makes me think of cookies every single time. And then, of course, these little watermarks and the sailboat and a cute little bird, seagull probably, and these right here which stamp the sails. So I'll show you how I did that on this card. Now the dies look like this. So there's a couple clouds. There's this single die that will do 3 little white seagulls or whatever kind of birds you want them to be. And then the big sailboat, which is what we put inside the embossing folder, and different size boats, which is nice. So you can have one up front that's large and then 2 like off in the distance sailing, little ones. And then I believe what's supposed to happen is like this sail here, when you cut this one, well, let me just do it on this one. When you cut this, I believe you can make it 2 sails if you want to, see? Or just make it a single sail, like I'm gonna show you how to do in this card right here. And then this little guy will do the same thing, which kind of looks like a little teepee tent, but you put that here and now you got a double sail, which is kind of fun. And then for the stamps, there is this one, which the die cuts out. And then there's also a stamp to color the boat, although I find it's pretty easy just to color it with my marker, but there's a stamp to color the bottom of the boat. So I like those a lot. And then the folder is really why I bought the whole thing. So ask me why I spend $50 for the whole thing when I could buy just the folder, because that's how I do it. I got to buy it all. And actually, I am glad I am. I feel like if you really like to make these type of cards and you like the sailboat theme and all of that, then it is good to get everything. But I probably could have just bought the stamp set and been happy. But the dies are very helpful. Now, this embossing folder is 6 by 6, so if you are going to, look how pretty this is, by the way. Oh, I love the texture. If you're going to make a smaller card, you'll cut off some of the clouds. You know what I mean? You could even do this, cut it here. But like in this card, I'm going to do a 5 by 7, and then the other ones I'm doing regular size A2. So, you can make it work. It's nice and big. All right, let's start with, oh, I forgot these two. Oh, oops. There's these 2 guys, which I think really could be sand with rocks. I was initially thinking it was the waves, which it can be the waves, sure. That's great, but I also think it can be sand and you color in for the rocks. And also, I really like the relief of it. So, like where it cut out, I really like this for sand. And these are all open-ended on the bottom, so you can make that as deep as you want. And I really like this even for waves. I mean, I think it makes a great wave, the relief of it. So these are kind of cool. Like, what else can we do with those? They're fun. Let's start with an easy one. This one is pretty easy. I'm using white paper. So this one, super easy, really. we're going to stamp the water. So this water stamp right here, everything's photopolymer. Thank you, Stampin' Up. We love that. You know, when they first came out with photopolymer, I was like, I don't know, are they going to last? Well, yeah, they stain, but the color doesn't transfer because they're photopolymer, which is different than acrylic, by the way. But I love them because you can see what the heck you're doing. So more, please. We like that. So there's a squiggle, which is kind of cool. I'm going to put that in the middle. And then I'm going to stamp along the sides to make my horizon line, just like that. It's pretty easy. And I'm just going to fill in, but I'm going to flip it around a little bit because I want it to look different. I don't want it to look exactly the same all the way down, but we want it to look like water, obviously. And just keep coming in. Again, you don't want it to look exactly the same. I'm glad that it doesn't. And I'll turn it this way and get this little guy. Oh, look, I need the very bottom. Now, I could have a beach down here for sure, but no, I'm not going to do that. Okay, so there is my water. I stamped that with the Misty Moonlight. I don't know if I told you that or not. How many people call it Moonlight Mist? I swear, it's so hard for me not to say Moonlight Mist instead of Misty Moonlight. I've had 3 cups of coffee. I might talk a little fast. So I got to slow down. Let me put this next to it. All I did on this one is took my Balmy Blue. I did my light Balmy Blue first. And leave some white in it. Don't color it completely. I'm just lightly adding my color in. Avoiding a little bit of that so I can do the yellow. Okay, that's it. Now, go in with the dark Balmy Blue. It's rare that I use the brush tip, actually, but I am on this one. And just pepper in a little bit of the dark. And don't judge it till it dries. It always lightens as it dries. And then you can go back in and do it. Now, you could also go in with your brush, with your sponge daubers and all of that, but I kind of like that. Now for the sun, this is a 1 3/4 inch circle. It really doesn't matter, whatever you want. I'm taking my dark daffodil and the bullet point. I'm putting it down below the horizon line just a bit. And then I'm just drawing around it. That's it. Now, filling in with the light one first. Just fill it all the way around. Leave a little bit of white in there, that's okay. And then just come in here, just a touch there, like it's a reflection coming down. By the way, I'm taking my light Misty Moonlight and kind of connecting those just a little bit. The dark one, there we go. And then come in with your dark daffodil and just flick it in from the edge, just like that. And we're gonna do a little bit of sponging around it, so just like that, just to make it look rounded a little bit. Come back in with the light. Okay. And now, when I said leave a little bit of white in there, I didn't, but you get the idea. Okay, there's my sun. Now see this little pinkish glow right here? Pinkish hue. We're gonna come back in right here and cover that up. And we're gonna use Balmy Blue first with a brush or a sponge or whatever you want to do it with. I sort of tap off a little. Actually, you know what I really like to do? I open this up and then I'll tap off here. That way I don't waste as much. Then I can go back in and get it. But you just want a little bit, come in from the edges and start making your sky. So I'm going slow here so you can see. Kind of across like that. Very light, because you really just want a little bit of the blue coming in. You don't want it too dark unless you do want it too dark. This is sort of the sunrise. There. Now, for the pink, I'm going to take a little bit of Petunia Pop. And I mean a little bit. I've got a little bit in my lid here. Put this back on. And you're just going to lightly, you can always add more, but you can't take it away as easy. And we're just rubbing back and forth around it. Every once in a while, you think nothing's happening, but pull that away to make sure. So check on it and just see. So you can come in here, but then take a little off. Very, very lightly right across to give your pinkish hue from your sunrise. Just like that. I think now that this is dried, I need a little bit more light in here. Just a little bit more light blue, the balmy. Can always go back and add more, but once you put too much, boy, it's kind of over. All right, then, oh, the flicking. I typically use the brush tip for the flicking. It's got like this little splatter up here. So I just take my cap. This is not good for the tips. However, I do it all the time. And I don't use the brush tips much, but I do this. Now you can also take a little balmy blue in the lid with the brush and do the same thing. And then all you have to do is we stamp the birds. Now I stamp the birds in the darkest new color, the Secret Sea ink pad. It looks like I put a little bit of pink across there, doesn't it? Yeah, I think I did. I'm just gonna add just a little pink across the bottom. Just a wee bit right there. Just enough to give it a little rosiness there. Oh, that's better. Now, I stamped this in Versamark in white embossing powder, and that Sending Good Vibes is part of a new stamp set that's coming out, which I really like. It's called The Right Words. I won't take the time to read it, but I'll post a picture of it so you can see what it looks like. But there's just a lot of really great sentiments in there. I really like it. All right, that's coming out May 6th. I added some linen, and then this, You Make Every Day a Little Brighter. I added a little Wink of Stella on the sun. Just went over it just to give it some sparkle. And that came from this one. I think it's retiring very soon. You Make Every Day a Little Brighter. So I love how the fonts are very similar. And I really like that with Stampin' Up! That several fonts, they all kind of mix well together. So, all right, that's number one. This one is my favorite. I love, love, love this one. The card is actually the new Timid Tiger. Look at the difference between Pumpkin Pie and Timid Tiger. It's a washed out tiger, but I love it. It's not an in-your-face orange. It's a very subtle orange, and I didn't think I'd like it. Now I do. Okay. This piece right here, I cut with the Noteworthy die right here. And then I masked out this right here. And if you don't want to do all that, you can skip that step by just cutting a layer down and putting it on top. But I really like how it looks. It's just the invisible layer. So I'm using some old washi tape. I sort of take a little of the sticky off first, just to make sure that all the sticky is, it's not too sticky that it's going to tear the paper. You can use painter's tape, but just make sure, you take some of the stick off. So we're going to cover up that little detail right there on the bottom. And we're going to do that all around the four sides. And you're just following the design on each. Now this one I stamped in the new Sea Serpent, and oh, I love it. You got to get that. If you don't get any of the ink pads that are the new in colors coming out, get that one because it's almost black, but not quite as harsh. It's darker than navy. It stamps the sentiments amazingly. It's just, I'm loving this ink pad so much. It's very useful. All right, so that's down. Now, same thing, we're gonna stamp in the Sea Serpent the squiggles. So you see me do that once, so I'm gonna do this quickly and I'll be right back. All right, then we bring in Azure Afternoon, the turquoisey color. It's kind of like a turquoise. So the azure can be really dark. So, you know, don't worry about this being too dark because it really does look nice. Try not to swirl too much because you're gonna see them. There we go. Kind of go back and forth, kind of in the direction of the grain, which by the way, that could be a wood grain. Just saw that. If I stamp that in brown on brown, that's wood grain, right? Now, let that dry. We're gonna add one more color to it, but we're gonna go to the Timid Tiger and then the yellow. So I'm using the Timid Tiger and the Duckling. And first, we're gonna add a sun, just like I did right here. This one is a little smaller, probably like 1 1/4. Whatever you have will work fine. Now you could use the punch out and make it like a stencil and sponge that in. I'm just being lazy and just doing it this way. But it works fine. And then color. I mean, some of it's gonna be covered up by the sailboat anyway. So, and we're gonna put a little bit of Timid Tiger on top of it. So, just a little bit of the lighter yellow there. Get my line a little bit better. There. So what I mean by the relief is keep the piece of paper that make it big, punch a circle out of it, stick it on there. So I just like to see where it goes. It's just easier for me to kind of do it that way. All right, keep this handy though. We're going to use the Timid Tiger first. Okay, hold that and then go back and forth like that. Around here, go right across. And just keep blending it in. I'm using thick basic white. You can use the regular, of course. Regular white, whatever. Darling Duckling. You can use daffodil also. I'll show you. You can also use your sponge dauber. I don't need that anymore. And come across. I mean, in a lot of ways, the sponge dauber is faster, you know, but I like it. And I'm going to just take a little bit of the Timid Tiger. Well, let me do it with a brush. And I'm just coming across that, soften that sun just a little bit. The hardest thing about this card is stamping that sentiment there and being afraid if you've done all this, it's crooked. So I was really happy when it came out good. Look at this cute little bird stamp, which is great, right there. It could also be a bat. And you could do this with a moon and make it spooky, of course. I think it'd make a great bat. I don't think that's their intention, but to me, it looks like that. And then I just cut that in the Sea Serpent. There it is, right there. I'll put it like that. And that's it. So that just goes on there. So when you take off your washi tape, it has preserved that nice, pretty white border. So I think this would be pretty snappy too if you did this in white. I wonder what that would look like. For a moon, you know, like a white moon. And I probably did that one a little bit dark. I kind of like how much lighter that one is. A little wink of Stella on the sun. You can put this on with dimensionals or, you know, just stick it on there. And then layered it on the Sea Serpent. Layer it on the Secret Sea. Now this die it's an odd size that you have to cut your card down to 4 inches. If you made it 4 1/4, let me show you what it looks like. It's an odd size, so it layers funny for me. Like I like to have it be really equal. See how the bottom is skinnier than the sides? If that doesn't bother you, then you can keep your 4 1/4 size card. But for me, it bugged me, so it comes down to 4 inches by 5 1/2 when it's folded, which really is not a big deal, right? Not a big deal. So, and then I just colored a little piece of white ribbon with the ink and the sponge dauber. and that will go in a regular envelope. All right, last one. I'm going to show you how to do the hybrid die. So we're going to need this right here and the embossing folder. Now, the piece of paper that I'm using, this is going to be a 5x7 card. So this paper is 6 inches wide because the folder is 6 inches wide. But I cut off some of the water, so it's 4 3/4. So this is, and then I just filled it in with a little bit of silver on each side to make it kind of fill up and make it bigger. Because being 6x6, it's sort of a weird size, but I like big cards. And a retirement one, which I stamped on the cloud, lots of people can sign a bigger card. So, all right, let me show you how to do the embossing on this. If we want to just emboss this, we can put our cardstock in, right? We know how to do that and run it through. But if we want it to cut this, you're going to open it up, and the Stampin' Up! Is on the front. Okay, so open it up like a book, and this fits in right there. It snugs in. I mean, it'll fit on this side too, but when you cut it, nothing's going to happen because the paper has to be under it, right, for it to cut it, and you can't see what you're doing. So you have to do it on this side first, all right? And then you lay your paper down here where you want it. Make sure it's straight, and then you flip it like that. And then we're gonna run it through the machine. Now there's a trick with running it through the machine because it is a hybrid. It's an extra thick folder. You will need the number 4, or you're gonna need this blue one that we had years ago. Because for the machine to cut this and the thick folder, you need both. So let me show you what that looks like on the machine. Okay, whether you have a Big Shot or whatever you have, you've got your regular base plate, okay, which this one's the number 1. Then there's a number 2. You never use that when embossing. It even says right here, do not use with embossing folders. This is your die adapter. This is for cutting with the dies. Even though we've got a die in there, it's not the same thing. Don't use this. The other thing you don't need are your cutting plates. You don't need the cutting plates for the thick embossing folders, okay? You only need the plate and then this guy because it's so much thicker. And like I said, if you don't have this one is still for sale by itself, I believe, so if you don't have one, or this jewel tone one from a long time ago. So that's all you need are these 2 things. Now I gotta do this again because it fell. All right, so the die goes in here. It kind of snaps in because it feels that little depression there. Put that down, and there it goes here on the platform. I always put the hinge in first, and it really doesn't matter if it's this way or that way, like as far as where the die is, but this goes on top, and then you roll it through. And it's going to cut and emboss at the same time, which is nice. So this is what we have. Ta-da! And that nice little guy and your die. So let me show you the card. This is, I spritzed it with alcohol and reinker, which I'll show you how to do. This is popped up, and then the clouds. Now, if you want to keep the clouds white, there's a little trick. So I cut these little masks out of copy paper. Did I have to? I don't know, but I did. It was kind of fun and crafty thing to do. Well, I folded a piece of copy paper in half, and I ran it through, and I just cut out the clouds so that I had like a little paper mask. They're blue already because I've already spritzed them once, but you can see I'm just going to lay them down. I'm not even gluing them down. I'm just covering that up like that. Okay, just sort of get them in order there. Cover up those clouds because I want to keep them white, and then I'm going to mist it. So I really like to use alcohol in my misters. I think we still sell these in a pack of 2. This one is Misty Moonlight and alcohol. I just use the 70%. I like it better than water. It dries a lot faster, and for some reason, just sprays finer and nicer than water, which can get globby for me. But I fill it up to 3/4 of the way. And then I put 5 drops of my Misty Moonlight re-inker in there, 5 drops, and then shake it up. You can always add more alcohol if it's too dark, but I feel like it's a good place to start is right here. And this just comes, you know, just like that. Protect your area. I have nothing to protect here, so I'm just gonna spray. I spray with my thumb. I don't know about you, but I have a hard time with the finger this way. I feel like I don't get it strong enough. Like you really wanna press it and go. Like, kind of like you're spray painting. I spray paint the same way with my thumb. My thumb is a lot stronger. Make sure the nozzle is pointed here. And I'm just gonna spritz back and forth. Look, that's it. I did four of that. If I want to do a little more on the bottom, I can. I love that it's alcohol and it dries quickly. And then these just come off and I've got white clouds. So that's what I did. Alcohol won't make the paper warp as much, and it, like I said, it dries a lot faster. So that's my go-to for misting. This guy right here that we already did, I'm gonna stamp that, wish me luck, on here. I'm gonna stamp it right on here with the Misty Moonlight, and it's a big stamp, so I'm gonna ink it up this way. And thank you, photopolymer. Let's see how it came out. Now, if you mess up on this part, ooh, it came out, yay! If you mess up on this part, you've got the stamp and the die, you can just stamp it and cut it out. So that's okay. Now, this little part where the sail is, that needs to be blue, because putting it back, see, putting it back in there, it's looking through it. So we need to color that with a little bit of balmy blue in the alcohol marker. Okay. And like I said, there's a little stamp that goes with this, but I think, gosh, it's so easy to color. So I'm doing just a real red. I do like to color with the bullet tip. This is the dark real red. You could also go like a cherry, but this works pretty good. And I could do, let me just do a little gray. This is smoky slate to pick up on the silver that'll go on the side. And now to stamp the sails, which it would be fun to do some paper piecing with that too, and do some pattern papers. I'm gonna use real red. And this is the sail. And yes, you can see right where it's going to go, right here. Let's try that. Not bad. Remember, it's going to lighten a little as it dries. So this goes together pretty easily. So this goes on the card. Oh, I added these in dark gray. So there's the teeny little ones here. You can barely see them. So I used the die and cut those 3 out in basic gray. You could do black, or you could do, so I did basic gray for this right here. And then I popped this up on dimensionals. So it's kind of, you kind of see a little bit there. So I like it a lot. And then added 2 of the cut clouds. Now, if these clouds are a little too white, then give them a shot with the Misty Moonlight. Very, ooh, that's a little too much. But the white clouds go on top of it and it'll be pretty. So I'd say if you like sailboats and that sort of thing, get everything. I like the dies too, but you could do, this stamp set's only $20 by itself. So you could just do that. And then also you can get the dies and the embossing folder separately. But I feel like, and that's good, but I really like the stamps with it. So if I had to choose just one, I'd say just get the stamps, but I do like everything. I like the dies for this too. Now, check out this card Amy Kunders did. She stamped this on, I think it's balmy blue, but look how simple it is, and it is so effective. I love this card so much. So she just did a balmy blue card. She stamped it. It's balmy blue or pool party, I can't tell. Stamped the squiggles, cut these out in that lovely Secret C, and she used the the new Darling Duckling with the Spotlight of Nature die. And then this, I don't know what that's from, but the Congratulations is in the Sunrise Sailing set. And she probably did that on the Timid Tiger, if I'm guessing. And it's fantastic. I mean, it's so easy and so simple, but so pretty. It's such a great card. So my assessment is, I love the stamp set. You can buy it by itself for $20, or you can get the whole thing, or you can get just the folder and the dies, although I think that's kind of, you really need the stamps too. So it's going to be good. May 6th. I'll post all the measurements for you, all the things, and we'll see you next time. See it, learn it, stamp it.